students, nice to meet you again in our biology program. Today we are going to talk about reproduction. Last episode we talked about type or method of reproduction, which is asexual reproduction. Today we are going to talk about a second type, which is sexual reproduction. I wish you enjoy your time with us. Let's start. Second, the sexual reproduction. The presence of two individuals, male and female, for the production of sexual gametes. So that needs presence of two individuals. One is male and the other is female for producing sexual gametes. Gametes should meet for fusion during fertilization to form, of course, zygote. So when the gametes are meet together, they form zygote. Then divides and grows to the embryo. So these zygote grow and form embryo, as you see. The young receives from both parents even a minute part of their substances, and thus becomes a blend from both. So the embryo become blend from both. So sexual reproduction need two individuals. One is male and the other is female. Each one will produce his gamete. The male produce male gamete and the female individual produce female gamete. And then they will meet together during fertilization process and they will produce zygote. And this zygote will grow and produce the embryo. And this embryo will grow to young. And this young become blend from both parents. I mean, carry properties of both parents, the male and female. So, sexual reproduction takes more time and energy. Why do you think sexual reproduction takes more time and energy? That will consume more than asexual. I mean, sexual reproduction takes more time and energy consumed more than asexual. Why? As you see, in some cases, the parents should prepare the proper nest or burrow for mating. They may alternate in guarding the eggs. Some forms keep their embryos within their till birth, like kangaroo. Or, I mean, they can keep their embryo in a pouch or inside their body, like in uterus, like in human. Human keep them in uterus. Once again, let's see why sexual reproduction takes more time and energy consuming than asexual reproduction. As you see, in some cases, parents should prepare the proper nest or burrow before mating, as they may alternate in guarding the eggs, as you see. Some forms keep their embryos within their body till birth, as in human keep it in uterus, or after birth keeping in pouch like in kangaroo. These young may remain with their parents in a social life for more protection and learning more about the behavior. The sexual reproduction depends on meiotic division. As we said before, asexual reproduction depends on mitotic division, but sexual depend on meiotic division. So cells resulting from these division are haploid cells, I mean n number of chromosomes. During fertilization, the male gamete fuses the female gamete and becomes 2n. So the zygote is 2n. Once again, this is a very important part. Please concentrate with me. As I said, the sexual reproduction depends on meiotic, but asexual depended on mitotic division. So the meiotic division give cells resulting from it or from this division are haploid cells. So the cells are resulting from this kind of division is a haploid number. Each one is haploid number cells. I mean contains n number of chromosomes. During fertilization, the male gamete, which has any number of chromosomes, fuses with the female gamete, also which has any number of chromosomes, they fuses and become 2n. They give a zygote to any number of chromosomes, as you see. Types of sexual reproduction. First, we have conjugation. Protozoa, algae, and fungi reproduce by mitosis at suitable conditions, but they turn to sexual reproduction by conjugation if subjected to drought, change in water temperature, or purity. Once again, protozoa, algae, and fungi reproduce by mitosis at suitable condition. That means they make asexual reproduction, but they can turn to sexual reproduction by conjugation, I mean by this method, if subjected to drought or change in water temperature or change in water purity. I mean the water become not pure. Let's see example on conjugation. We are going to talk about conjugation in Spirogyra. Spirogyra turns to conjugation on advent of unsuitable conditions. So that happened in unsuitable conditions only. Actually, Spirogyra has two types of conjugation. Let's see the first type of conjugation in Spirogyra. First one is called scalariform conjugation. Scalariform conjugation. Let's see that. And also its drawing is very important. Let's see and concentrate with me. When two filaments contact each other, a protrusion grows inwards between opposite pairs of cells. Then walls in between disappear, forming a conjugation tube, as you see. So this part is called conjugation tube. So when the two cells become near to each other, I mean two filaments, two different filaments become near to each other and they contact each other, you see the protrusion grow from each one inwards between opposite pairs of cells. Then wall in between disappear, forming a conjugation tube. The protoplasm of each cell of one filament rolls up into a sphere and move across the above tube to cells of the opposite filament, forming a zygote. As you see, the protoplasm of each cell of one filament rolls up into a sphere and moves across the above tube, which is called the conjugation tube, of course, to cells of the opposite filament, forming a zygote. As you see, my dear student, the zygote coated by a thick wall that protects it along unsuitable conditions. And this zygote remains dormant till the surrounding conditions improve. Then, as you see, it germinates to new filament. Again, please concentrate with me on that because it's very important to know scalariform conjugation in Spirogyra. As you see, we have two filaments. In presence of two filaments in front of each other, when these two filaments contact each other, a protrusion grow, and this protrusion grow inward only between the two pairs of cells. Then walls in between disappear, forming conjugation tube. The protoplasm of each cell of one filament rolls up into a sphere and moves across the above tube, which is called, as I said, conjugation tube, to cells of the opposite filament, forming a zygote. And as you see, my dear students, a filament has inside it zygotes, and another filament is completely empty because the one of them, its protoplasm move completely to the other one. Each zygote in each cell coated by a thick wall that protect it along unsuitable conditions and remains in dormant state till the surrounding condition improve, then it germinates, as you see, to a new filament. Let's move to the second part of conjugation in Spirogyra, which is called lateral conjugation. So, the Spirogyra has two types of conjugation. First one is called scariform, and the second one is called lateral conjugation. Let's talk about the lateral conjugation. Lateral conjugation occurs between the adjacent cells of the same filament. So that happened in the same filament. I mean in absence of adjacent filament. So it happened in the same filament between its cells. The protoplasm of one cell moves to the adjacent cell through an opening in the wall in between them, as you see. So this kind of conjugation, as you see, between the adjacent cells of the same filament. The protoplasm of one cell moves to the adjacent cell through an opening in the wall in between them. As you see, no conjugation tube, no adjacent filaments, it's between cells of the same filament. Cells of the algae filament are haploid. So the original cells, as I said, are haploid, n number. And after conjugation, the zygote become to n. So they divide by meiosis division before germination of a new filament, leading to haploidity. So the original filament return back and become again n number. So the zygote is 2n, but it returned back to n number because it makes meiosis division before germination to a new filament, leading to its haploidity again. Let's move to the second type of sexual reproduction, which is reproduction by sexual gametes. I talked about reproduction by conjugation. I am going to talk about reproduction by sexual gametes. Let's see. Reproduction by sexual gametes. Higher plants and animals reproduce by means of sexual gametes. Actually, there are two kinds of gametes, male and female gametes. They are derived from meiosis division that takes place in gonads, I mean sexual organs. The male gametes are characterized by their ability to locomotion. As you see, the male gamete can move. Locomotion means it can move. And also, thus they are adapted for their function. As you see, they lose most of its cytoplasm. Their body becomes pointed and provided with a locomotory tail, as you see, or flagellum, to help to transport the genetic material to the female gamete during fertilization. And also, you can see they are large in number, since most of them are subjected to loss during the above process. So 4 male gametes are produced from each original cell. Once again, let's see the structure of male gamete and how it can adapt to its function. Actually, you can see the male gametes are characterized by their ability to locomotion. Thus, they are adapted for their function. They lose most of its cytoplasm. They lose most of their cytoplasm. Their body becomes pointed and provided with locomotory tail or flagellum to help the transportation of the genetic material to the female gamete during fertilization process. And also, since some of them are subjected to loss during the above process, 4 male gametes are produced from each original cell. I talked about the structure of male gamete. Let's move to the structure of female gamete. The female gametes are spherical, as you see, almost enriched with food, where they are produced in few in numbers. So this is opposite to the male gametes. The male gametes pointed and small in size and large in number, but female gametes spherical, almost enriched with food, and also it's produced, each one produced a few in numbers. Male gametes may be transported to the female via water, by water, as in aquatic animals, as you see, like bony fish and toads. The male and female shed their gametes in water, where external fertilization in terrestrial animals, fertilization takes place internally. So, it's externally in fish and toads. It's internally in terrestrial animals. Fertilization takes place internally in terrestrial animals. That means sperms should be introduced to the eggs that remain within the female body till fertilization that resumes its deployed to end nature and passes towards embryonic development by means of mitosis. I am going to answer some questions about this part of the lesson, which is sexual reproduction and its methods. Let's start. Give reasons for each of the following. First, Spirogyra need two meiosis after formation of zygote during conjugation. Spirogyra need two meiosis after formation of zygote during conjugation. Good. In order to reduce the number of chromosomes in the zygote of the resulted cells from 2n number to n to be similar to original cells, which is haploid number, n number of chromosome. I'm going to say that again because it's long answer, and please concentrate with me. Spirogyra need two meiosis after formation of zygote during conjugation. You are right. In order to reduce the number of chromosomes in the zygote of the resulted cells from 2n number of chromosome to n number of chromosome to be similar to original cells, which is haploid number of chromosome, n number of chromosome. Next. The ovum is usually stationary. Why the ovum cannot move? Yes, because the ovum has not locomotory organ like sperm or like the male gamete. And in most animals, fertilization and embryonic development stages take place inside the body of mother. So the ovum must be stationary. Once again, the ovum is usually stationary. Why the ovum cannot move, stay in its place? As I said before, because the ovum has not locomotory organ, and in most animals, fertilization and embryonic development stages take place inside her body, inside the body of mother. So the ovum must be stay in its place. Asexual reproduction save the time and energy. Asexual reproduction save the time and energy. Good. Asexual reproduction saves time and energy because it occurs by one parent only. By one parental body. No male and no female. Let's move to another item of questions. What is the importance for each of the following? What is the importance for each of the following? First, conjugation tube of Spirogyra. Let's think together. What is the importance of conjugation tube? You are right. conjugation tube of Spirogyra is important through which the protoplasm of cell of one filament rolls up into a sphere and moves across the conjugation tube into the opposite cell of another filament, forming a zygote. As you see that again, conjugation tube of Spirogyra is important through which the protoplasm of cell of one filament rolls up into sphere and move across conjugation tube into opposite cell of another filament, forming a zygote. So the conjugation tube transfer protoplasm of one cell of Spirogyra filament to adjacent cell of another Spirogyra filament. Next, the seed coat in zygospore. Good. The seed coat in zygospore is important to adapt with unsuitable condition. So as we said, the zygospore has a thick coat. Why? To protect it from unsuitable condition. Let's move to another item of questions. What is difference between each of the following? The lateral and scalary form conjugation of Spirogyra. The lateral and scalary form conjugation of Spirogyra. Let's see. Scalary form conjugation. It's between two opposite cells in two different filaments. But lateral conjugation between two adjacent cells in the same filament. So the scalary form between two opposite cells in two different filaments, but lateral between two cells in the same filament. Also scalary form conjugation, you can see conjugation tube is formed, but in lateral conjugation, no conjugation tube is formed. So conjugation, lateral conjugation, no tube is formed. And also in scalary form conjugation, after conjugation, cells of one filament become empty completely and cells of another contain zygospores. Once again, in scalary form conjugation, after conjugation happen, the cells of one filament become empty completely and cells of another filament, you can see it will contain zygospores. But in lateral conjugation, after conjugation, one cell is empty while the adjacent cell contains zygospore by alternation and so on. I am going to say that this comparison again between scalary form conjugation and lateral conjugation. Actually, scalary form conjugation between two opposite cells in two different filaments, while the lateral one between two adjacent cells in the same filament. You can see conjugation tube is formed in scalary form conjugation, but no conjugation tube is formed in lateral conjugation. Also, in scalary form conjugation, after conjugation, cells of one filament become empty and cells of another one contain zygospore. While in lateral conjugation, after conjugation, one cell is empty while the adjacent cell contains zygospore and so on. Another item of question. Put right in front of the right statement and wrong or incorrect in front of the wrong one. Then rewrite the statement after being corrected. First, Spirogyra reproduce sexually by conjugation, where protoplasm of cells fuse together to form zygote. Is that correct or incorrect? Let's think together. Good. Spirogyra reproduce sexually by conjugation, where the protoplasm of cells fuse together to form zygote. Yes, that's correct. Next, meiotic division occurs before conjugation in Spirogyra. Is that right or wrong? Of course, it's incorrect. Meiotic division occurs after conjugation in Spirogyra to return back its haploidy, because the real filament is n number of chromosome, I mean haploid number of chromosome. Thank you for good listening. I wish you enjoyed your time with us. See you next episode. Good luck and goodbye.